Kare Mwafenduka, and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the only show that brings you the pertinent stories from the African continent and beyond. My name is Glenora Shipura. Let's take a look at what we can expect in today's broadcast. Tanzania's election dominates today's Africa Good Morning as President Samia Suluhu Hassan faces a race clouded by arrest and opposition bans. In Cameroon, protests flare after Paul Biya secures an 8th term. Kenya mourns 11 tourists lost in a tragic plane crash, while a UN Women report warns of massive funding cuts to global women's rights groups. In Namibia, Prime Minister Elijah Ngurare launches a training center and Rundu hosts its biggest trade fair yet. Economic and entertainment updates follow with Chris Kakwema and Philip Joseph reporting. We will be right back with your top stories on the other side of this.
Have you ever wondered why Grandma keeps her money under the mattress? And why is Angela uninsured? The Namibia Financial Inclusion Survey 2025 will help us find all the answers. From 6 October till the 4th of November 2025, the Namibia Statistics Agency teams in uniforms with tablets will visit homes across all 14 regions to learn about financial access, informal banking and saving habits. Email us at info@nsa.org.na or at 061 431 3200.
Starting us off in our top stories, we are in the land of the brave. President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah has appointed Defense Minister Franz Kapofi to temporarily oversee the Ministry of Industries, Mines and Energy. The move comes after Sunday's dismissal of Natangwe Ithete as Energy Minister. President Nandi-Ndaitwah had initially indicated that she would be taking over the ministry herself, a decision that received mixed reactions. She has seemingly placed the idea on ice, instead putting Kapofi in charge. In a statement, the president highlighted the importance of maintaining effective government operations and underscored that the appointment aligns with her commitment to stable, accountable governance. The decision also ensures that the ministry's leadership remains intact while a permanent successor is identified, the statement said. Swinging over to Tanzania, Tanzania votes in election expected to extend decades of one-party rule. Tanzania heads to the polls today in an election widely expected to deliver victory to President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the country's first female leader and head of the Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM party, which has ruled since independence in 1961. Hassan, who became president in 2021 after the death of John Magufuli, faces 16 challenges, though her main rivals Tundu Lissu and Luhaga Mpina have been barred from running. Lissu remains jailed in treason charges he says are politically motivated, and authorities have cracked down on journalists and civic groups in what Amnesty International calls a climate of fear. Opposition supporters, including Chadema's deputy leader John Heche, have been arrested, and protests are planned for election day. Critics accuse Hassan of deepening authoritarianism while promising stability and prosperity. Analysts warn of voter apathy as CCM's victory appears certain and concerns mount over possible unrest, internet shutdowns and arbitrary arrest. Despite reassurances of peace from Hassan, observers warned that Tanzania's legally valid election may still lack political legitimacy and risk strengthening authoritarian practices. Getting into our next story, Cameroon has been hit by protests following President Paul Biya's re-election for an 8th term announced on Monday by the Constitutional Council. At 92 years old, Biya has ruled since 1982, and many citizens say little is expected to change politically. Opposition supporters claim the vote was rigged, with Issa Chiroma Bakari, who officially received 35.19% to Biya's 53.66%, declaring himself the true winner. Now, protesters demand better living conditions, citing widespread poverty and stagnation under Biya's four-decade rule. Political analyst Asir Ateba warns that demonstrations could escalate unless the president initiates mediation. More than 70% of Cameroon's nearly 30 million people are under 35, many saying oil revenues have benefited only elites. Concerns persist over Biya's health as he spends long periods in Europe while governance falls to party officials and family. Observers noted irregularities in the vote, including deceased names on rolls and ballot stuffing attempts. Though the African Union called the election largely in accordance with standards, experts predict the unrest may mark a difficult new chapter for Cameroon society. In our next story, a tourist plane crashes in Kenya, killing 11 on board. A light aircraft operated by Mombasa Air Safari crashed on Tuesday morning in Kwale County, Kenya, killing all 11 people on board. The plane was traveling from Diani to Kichwa Tembo in the Masai Mara National Reserve when it went down around 8:30 a.m. local time. Now, officials confirmed that the passengers included 8 Hungarians and 2 Germans, while the pilot was Kenyan. The Civil Aviation Authority reported that the wreckage was found near the Indian Ocean coast, and Citizen TV said the bodies were burned beyond recognition. Regional police confirmed that all passengers were tourists. Sadly, there are no survivors, the airline said in a statement. The crash site was secured by security officials as investigators began examining the cause of the accident. The tragedy has drawn attention to aviation safety in Kenya, where small charter flights frequently connect popular coastal and wildlife destinations. Authorities said more information would be released as recovery efforts and investigations continue into the fatal crash involving the 5YCCA aircraft. A new UN Women's report titled At Risk and Underfunded reveals that sweeping aid cuts have forced 34% of women's rights and civil society organizations worldwide to suspend or close programs combating violence against women and girls. The global survey of 428 organizations found that more than 40% have scaled back vital services such as shelters, legal aid, and psychological or healthcare support. Now, 78% reported reduced access to essential services for survivors, while 59% observed growing impunity and normalization of violence. UN Women's Kailopi Mingeriu warned that funding cuts threaten decades of progress and urged governments to expand and protect funding for women's rights. Only 5% of organizations expect to sustain operations for more than 2 years, with 85% predicting major setbacks in laws protecting women and girls. The report coincides with the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration, highlighting fears that the global backlash against women's rights and rising financial strain could reverse hard-won gains in equality and protection. In Namibia, Prime Minister Elijah Ngurare launched the Indongo Training Center in Windhoek. Speaking at the event, Ngurare urged Namibians not to tire in investing in the talent of young people. He said he is personally part of the TVET industry, adding that the initiative aligns with Pillar 1 of Vision 2030 and Namibia's 6th National Development Plan, NDP 6. Have a look.
Secondly, please, through the leadership of the France Indongo Group, please convey to our old man our salutation that he's one of the leaders that has charted into the path that looked impossible and made it possible, especially for young people, and we give them a round of applause. Thirdly, the neighbor here, as you know, he is Mweno Mkunda of Onanjamba in Okankolo constituency. he has just whispered to me something very inspiring, that Mrs. Osman Miranda is also an inspiring story. She began and rose from secretary to be who she is today. Let's give her a round of applause. Quite impressive, an inspiration to the girl child out there, that you can rise, you can be what you want to be. And
that video was contributed by our in-house journalist, Chris Kakwema. In our next story, staying with Namibia, a record 168 exhibitors are showcasing at this year's 8th Rundu Annual Trade Fair, up from 133 last year. This was said by Rundu Town Council Strategic Executive for Community Services, Francisca Kubebona, who stated that the fair has become a major regional event attracting businesses, investors, government ministries, and visitors from across the country and outside. Among the exhibitors are 7 international participants, 5 from Tanzania, 1 from Kenya, and 1 from Cameroon. Philippus Joseph, and our in-house journalist as well, was there and captured this.
To a major regional event that attracts business, investors, government ministries, and visitors from all parts of Namibia and neighboring countries. Year on year, we continue to make significant strides in terms of attraction to the trade fair. In this regard, we are pleased to report that this year we have managed to attract 206 stalls that have been occupied by 168 exhibitors, compared to last year where we had 133 exhibitors. This is testament of the hard work that the Rundu Town Council is putting and recognizing the importance of this event. As His Worship the Mayor reiterated earlier, among the exhibitors we have 7 international exhibitors, 5 from Tanzania, 1 from Kenya, and 1 Cameroonian representative. We also have 3 national exhibitors from other regions within Namibia, and the good news is 118 local exhibitors from the Kavango East region.
All right, that concludes our top stories. We're now swinging over to the weather predictions. Getting into our economic news, Dangote refinery expansion to make it world's largest. Nigeria's Dangote Petroleum Refinery is set to expand its production capacity from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels, surpassing India's Jamnagar facility to become the world's largest. The project, confirmed by Aliko Dangote during a Lagos press briefing, will create approximately 65,000 jobs and strengthen Nigeria's industrial base. The expansion will also boost petrochemical output, with polypropylene production rising. Metric tons annually will also be upgrading to Euro 5 standards for cleaner fuel. Now, over 85% of the workforce will be Nigerian, ensuring significant skills transfer and local empowerment. Dangote announced plans to list 10% of refinery shares on the Nigerian Stock Exchange to broaden ownership. The refinery's increased capacity is expected to stabilize the fuel supply and reduce dependence on imports, particularly during high demand periods. Dangote called on other license holders to accelerate their projects, emphasizing Africa's need to control its own energy destiny and strengthen its economic sovereignty through industrial expansion.
Under the direction of His Excellency, Mr. President. The key announcement today is that we're expanding the Dangote refinery. We're announcing it officially. We're expanding the Dangote refinery from our 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. Actually, we're even a bit late because we had to sign the agreement with the technology licensor, which we're actually expanding. We've been doing that meeting since 8 o'clock. So upon completion of this will make it the largest refinery in the world ever. That is surpassing the Jamnagar Reliance refinery in India. This expansion reflects our confidence in Nigeria's future, our belief in Africa's potential, and our commitment to building energy independence for our continent and the world. It is also about confidence in Nigeria, confidence in the leadership of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, confidence in Africa, and in our capacity to shape our own energy future. Why expansion matters? Of course, it is the dream of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for Nigeria to emerge as one of the major suppliers of petroleum products in Africa and part of the world. And with this strong backing through previous stated policies, we are now taking this challenge to make this happen. Responding to rising regional demand and reducing import dependence. There's quite a lot of demand really within the African region, especially West Africa and East Africa. Saves and generates billions in dollars and strengthens the Nigeria's energy security. With this expansion, we will require over 65,000 workers during the construction. Such a project will actually further unlock opportunities for local industries, just as we did in the last trajectory. Reinforces Africa's capability to build and manage world-class infrastructure.
Getting into our next economic news story, Coca-Cola Company will record a $1 billion impairment charge in the fourth quarter of 2025 as it sells part of its ownership in Coca-Cola Beverages Africa, CCBA. The deal involves Coca-Cola HBC acquiring a 75% stake for $2.6 billion, valuing CCBA at $3.4 billion. Now, the transaction will make Coca-Cola HBC the world's second largest bottler by volume after Coca-Cola FEMSA expanding operations across 14 African countries. Now, Coca-Cola HBC plans to list shares on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange to underscore its longer-term commitment to the continent and may acquire the remaining 25% stake within 6 years. The acquisition aims to tap Africa's young growing consumer base while addressing cost pressures linked to global trade tariffs. Coca-Cola HBC, headquartered in Switzerland, expects the move to strengthen its market influence and operational reach. The Atlanta-based Coca-Cola Company continues to post strength global sales driven by growing demand for zero sugar products and sustained international beverage growth. Now we head over to some entertainment news where we take a look at the incredible performance from the UN at 80 celebrations held under the theme 80 Voices for 80 Years. Deaf comedian Sabino, alongside his voice interpreter Demofayo Chicken Kakuhwena from Free Your Mind, delivered an insightful and humorous take on inclusivity that captivated audiences and underscored the power of diverse voices in shaping a more inclusive future. Have a look.
How many languages do you know of where you can shout without making noise? Hi, my name is Sabino, and I am a deaf comedian, and proudly recognized as one of Africa's first deaf comedians. Through music, comedy, and sign language, I bring culture and joy. Deaf people are highly skilled, intelligent, and capable contributors to society. For example, there are many deaf drivers like myself who provide excellent taxi and airport shuttle services. It's the most silent taxi ride you could ever take. Deaf people are the only people who naturally mind their business. We just can't hear it. Being deaf is not easy. One day I had a run-in with city police and Nampo. It was so confusing. Blue and red lights everywhere. I tried to sign. They couldn't understand. They thought I was a rapper, which I am, but that's not the point. When a city police officer issued me a ticket, I tried to ask for clarification using sign language. The officer couldn't understand that I am deaf and continued to speak. All I saw was moving lips and an angry face. My brother, you can't keep driving this car. Can't you hear your brake pads? This car is done. This guy needs a ticket. I'm gonna have to give him. What is he saying? They summoned me for a hearing. I didn't bother to show up. What's the point? Many hearing people don't know sign language. So deaf people are often excluded from education, jobs, and even healthcare. It's harder without interpreters or proper support. And that's why creating awareness through deaf comedy and Free Your Mind is so important. My friend here, which is me, is my voice interpreter. He's here to help you hearing folks. But sometimes working with him is no different than working with the blind. It's always a challenge. Can you imagine me and a blind person communicating? We often need an interpreter. But it's no different than communicating with the hearing. To us, you are disabled. If you want to understand deaf experiences, it's worth learning at least a little sign language, so you can understand how the language truly works. But I'll teach you some words. Hello, do it with us. Hello. Hello. How are you? How are you? I am fine. I am fine. Thank you. Thank you. I love you all. I love you all. I'm going to be the first Namibian to start a deaf club. No cell phones, texting, video calls, or social media. I'm going to call it deaf therapy.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for you. Thank you for tuning in and catching up on the latest stories from the African continent and beyond with Africa Good Morning. From me, Glenn Rashipura. Until next time.